College professors of Reddit. What's your "I'm surprised you made it out of high school" story? Professor at a middle of nowhere medium-sized state school with a 80-ish% acceptance rate. Had a graduate student who couldn't code for the life of him but was a software engineer at an undisclosed incredibly large aviation company. He couldn't accept that other students who didn't have jobs were better than him and that the people grading him didn't have jobs. Sent death threats because we failed him on an assignment where his code didn't run. He complained to the higher UPS and got AC. I bet he was covertly outsourcing his job for a fraction of his salary and was pocketing the difference. Either that, or he was lying about his career. Nah, I worked at undisclosed aviation company once. Probably one of the most dysfunctional engineering companies in the US, but they're big enough and big name enough people think it's prestigious. I had a student who told me, being 100% serious, that he wouldn't be presenting on his assigned day because he didn't do the assignment and he'd go the next day. The presentation had been given with due dates over 2 weeks earlier. When I told him that wasn't how college worked, he claimed discrimination and told me he had accommodations for his disability that allowed him more time. Once he pulled that card, I got the department head involved and she laughed. The guy failed. To clarify, he got double time on exams to allow for a learning disability. It doesn't excuse him for deciding not to do the work necessary for the class. Okay, and as someone who does have accommodations, the etiquette is to ideally ask before the assignment is due and explain that you're having issues with it. If you have to ask on the day of, you leave it to the instructor's discretion whether they take marks off or not. Was teaching a first-year religion class and we were talking about the 2 creation stories in Genesis, but this happened specifically when we were reading the story of Adam and Eve in the garden. I told my class that a colleague of mine joked Adam had a C-section because he wasn't conscious when God took his rib and made Eve. The class had a giggle, but one student raised their hand and seriously asked why everyone was laughing, because men have the ability to regrow their ribs once in their life thanks to this original moment. I felt horrible. The entire class started laughing and I immediately shut that speech down because the student was wanting to melt away into nothingness. Was a great teaching moment because you never, ever laugh if someone has a question and is serious about it. Turns out, their Nana was a JW, and while my student generally took everything that came out of Nana's mouth with a grain of salt, somehow this fact never got examined. Undefined. You are a good one. People need to be able to express their thoughts without being shamed. This is why people have trouble with critical thinking. They can do it, but they're too afraid of being wrong or laughed at to share. Student handed in a 1-page essay of complete gibberish. Like utter stream of consciousness of a gerbil on LSD kind of garbage. After receiving an F on this assignment, this muffin had the audacity to come to my office hour and demand that I explain this grade to them. After I walked them through their river of word garbage, they tried to tell me that I just didn't understand their writing because I am not an English native speaker. First time I almost kicked somebody out of my office. Not a professor, but college instructor. First time I've heard the word muffin used as a pejorative term, haha. I used to ta physics. I had a student who had gone to a decent private high school tell me the value of pi was 2/28. I can kind of understand the 28, because that's 2 pi. But I don't know where the 2 came from. Maybe they mixed up and combined e and pi. But that's still bizarre. I guess it's possible. Though he wasn't the sharpest knife in the electrical socket. Not a professor. But I used to ta for undergrad organic chem lab courses. Had a challenging student once who was not great at reading directions or thinking critically. We were setting up an experiment that required gentle heating of a volatile solvent. I explicitly told the class, multiple times, Only turn your hot plates up to 2 when heating. These things get very hot. Maybe 30 minutes later I'm making my rounds through the lab and I pass that guy's fume hood and notice his reaction is smoking. I look closer and see that all of the liquid in his flask is gone and it's just a charred, black smoking mess which is still heating. I ask, "Student, what's going on with your reaction? What's the temperature set at?" The guy goes, "Oh, I wasn't sure how hot to heat it, so I just turned the plate all the way up to 10. Is my reaction going to be okay?" No. No man. It's not going to be okay. He literally boiled the thing dry. If you ever want students to pay attention to what you're saying during your pre-lab chat, something like, "If you want to get out of lab early, make sure you do this." Works like a charm every time. Not a professor. But we were doing peer editing in English 102. I got an essay on why suicide being illegal was stupid. I still remember the opening line 15 years later. There are plenty of retarded of laws. I stared at that sentence wondering what to do and realizing how low my school's standards of admission were undefined. Not a teacher. But a friend of mine is. First story. Master's student didn't know how to convert from seconds to minutes. Second story. No one from a class of 4 PhD students in an engineering field knew how to add two 2D vectors. This comment cured my imposter syndrome. Not a professor. But in undergrad, I had a sociology course where we had to do a group presentation about different types of family structures. We divided the work by tasking each group member A with creating a slide on a subtopic for our PowerPoint. When it came time to practice, I had everyone send me their slides so I could put it together into one file. I noticed right away that something was off when a group member's slide had gems like, "Women's suffrage has destroyed the American family structure," and "Feminism has turned women away from their naturally obedient nature." WTF? I asked to meet with the group member about why the hell his slide was a misogynistic rant. Especially for a joint presentation in a group of 4 women at a pretty liberal school. Even if he believed this bull's peep, there's no way he thought it wouldn't backfire in a presentation in front of the whole class. Well, I met with him and he sheepishly admitted that he had just Googled American family structure and copy and pasted from the first website he saw. He didn't realize it was offensive. He hadn't read anything on the slide that he had just sent to the group to present. I didn't believe him at first. But I found the website that he used and he quite literally just copied from some random angry incel's personal website. It was a group grade. So I just ended up doing his slides for him. He read what I gave him verbatim and we got an A. I took the grade and was relieved to never work with him again. This is the first story in this thread, I believe. Oh. The things I have seen copy-pasted in academics. Not exactly copy and pasted, but my French teacher in high school told us once how a student used Google Translate to write his French essay. Except he apparently didn't check what language he set it to and turned in a whole essay written in very poor Spanish. This must be a common dumb student problem since I've heard similar stories from other language teachers. There was a story in my school about a kid who turned in a German assignment in Dutch. He mistook it for Deutsch. Taking German lessons right now. Can totally believe confusing those two words but not the languages. For a couple years I taught first-year college students in an engineering program. The majority of whom didn't know how to do unit conversions. Not even. Like. Inches to centimeters. To repeat. College. Engineering. My ex was an engineer. They pretty much let everyone into the program and difficult classes just to collect tuition and let them fail out. They prided themselves on how hard the school was, but in reality it was just padded by people who shouldn't have been accepted. I was a TOEFL for 2 years. One of my students outside of class explained that she and her whole family truly believes that microwaves mutate the DNA of your food. They don't, and mutated DNA is dangerous to eat. It wouldn't be. I couldn't help myself for calling her out. It was such a strange thing that it didn't even occur to me to be sensitive. I just said she clearly needed to take my biology class again. My mother always complained about the dangers of food cooking and cell phone microwaves. And she recently bought an infrared sauna. Sometimes all you can do is laugh.
Hey guys, if you like this video then smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more contents like this. And don't forget to press that bell icon to get notified for future videos. Thanks for watching. Click here to see more videos.